I'm gonna read on down since I got extra time. Now it's in the book of Exodus chapter 17, start at verse 1. I may jump around a little bit, so bear with me. Now it says, all the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journeys according to the commandment of the Lord and pitched and for them. And there was no water for the people to drink. So, you know, the people talking shit. They like, yeah, we ain't got no water. You got us out here. It says, wherefore the people did chide with Moses. It said, give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, why chide with me? Wherefore do you tempt the Lord? And the people thirsted there for water. And the people murmured against Moses and said, wherefore is this that thou brought us up out of Egypt to kill us and our children? And see, they forgot. He basically told them what to do. They weren't trying to seek the Most High for real, for real. They just wanted handouts. They didn't want to be humble and be like, you know what, we're going to call on the Lord. We're going to all send these prayers up. Now, I'm quite sure the Most High made it rain or made some type of water manifest a certain way. And I says, and Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, what should I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. So his own people going to stone him. That's how niggas be today. Like, I got into it with this damn demonic ass nigga 2 days ago. We were talking about something, and dude was cussing me out. He wanted to kill me, but he couldn't have, because the Most High ain't want to let him do that shit. Because he would have been the first one to go anyway. But the way he was talking, I let him know, like, hey man, you won't go talk to these devils like that. Don't talk to me like that. And that's gonna be wrong with our people, because they'll get around these heathens and be all yes sir and calm voiced and all that shit. And then they get around their own people. They want to chide, like the scripture said. They want to go back and forth and argue. Now it says, and the Lord said to Moses, go on before the people and take with thee of the elders of Israel thy rod, wherewith thou smotest the river, and take thy hand and go. Behold, I will stand before thee, be upon the rock of the rod, and thou shalt smite the rock, there shall come water out of it. So he ended up making the water come anyway. Even though these niggas was talking shit and wanted to stone Moses. It says that the people may drink, and Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. They called the name of the place Mashah and Merab, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, because they tempted the Lord, saying, is the Lord among us or not? After all these events, they're going to ask, is the Lord among us or not? Still to this day, you have people questioning, is the Most High with us or not? But even in the state that we in right now, or I won't say the state, so even the state that we in right now, the Most High still make sure we be good. Even though he was pissed off with us, he still make sure we get certain stuff. Be in good health, so on and so on. Now, back to the warfare type tactics and the topics. These nations, they really couldn't deal with us. You read right here, it says in verse 8, then came Amalek and fought with Israel and went for them. And Moses said to Joshua, choose us out men and go fight with Amalek tomorrow. I will stand on top of the hill with the rod of Yahweh in my hand. And so Joshua did as Moses said unto him, and fought with Amalek, and Moses and Aaron and Hur went up to the top of the hill. It came to pass when Moses held his hand up that Israel prevailed, because he had his hands up, sending the prayers up. Because when he let his hand down, and let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. Moses' hands were heavy. They took a stone and put him under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, so like the one on the one side and the other on the other side. And when you really send them prayers out, that's why you have to really know how to pray. You don't pray with your hands closed, you pray with your hands open and up, like you're receiving something. When you actually sit there and send the prayers up for a long time, I'm sure you can, you do it too. Your arms get tired, so you just imagine this event right here. Now it says, and Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword, because they couldn't do nothing. Now let's go to the story of David the Mighty Man. And I ain't gonna stretch this out too much longer. Try to end this off. is that? Okay, here you go. I'm gonna jump around a little bit on these because it's different. There's different precepts I want to give just to point out exactly how our initially was given down. Now that's in the book of 2 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 18. It says, now the three sons of Zeruiah were there, Joab, Abishai, and Asael. Asael was as fleet of foot as a wild gazelle. Now, we know how wild gazelles run. They run fast and they know how to move. You can't really keep up with them. It takes a skilled animal to actually keep up with them. And that's why the Most High put the speed in jaguars, leopards, and cheetahs, so they can actually keep up with them. Any other animal can't really keep up with them. They gotta hunt them a certain way. Let me see. Book of 1 Chronicles chapter 12 and verse 8. It says, and of the Gadites, they separated themselves unto David, into the whole, to the wilderness, men of might, men of war, fit for the battle, that could handle shield and buckler, whose faces were like the faces of lions, and were as swift as the roes upon the mountains. And they was dangerous, man. It wasn't just no average men. I'm trying to find this one precept I want to get, where it goes into how one man was taking out hundreds of men by themselves. Okay, here we go. Let's out looking for us in 2 Samuel chapter 23. And I will go into more of the details of the Maccabean revolt, but hey, do your homework and look at that as well. When you hear about that event, you hear about Hanukkah, people make little jokes and they say celebrate it. They don't really know that was one of the biggest slave revolts. You want to talk about revolts? That's the book of 2 Samuel chapter 23. Let's see, starting verse 8. It said, these be the names of the mighty men whom David had attacked Monite, and sat in the seat, chief among the captains. The same was Adino the Esnite. He lifted up his spear against 800, whom he slew at one time. So you gotta think about one man to do something like that. These is our people. That's where we come from. That's the line we come from. That's why Esau want to keep us down. Don't want us knowing about certain events. Don't want us knowing about certain warfare, different tactics. Don't want us knowing our history. Don't want us being spiritual, balanced, patient. They want us to be the exact opposite. Let me read on some more. It says, and after him was Eleazar the son of Dodo, the Ahoite, one of three mighty men was with David, when they defied the Philistines that were gathered together to battle. And the men of Israel were going away. He arose and smote the Philistines until his hands were weary, and his hand cleaved to his sword. And the Lord wrought a great victory that day, and the people returned after him only to spoil. Let's see. Jump down to verse 18. It says, and Abishai, the brother of Joab, the son of Zeruiah, was chief among three. He lifted up his spear against 300 and slew them. had the name among the three. Was he not most honorable of three? Therefore he was their captain. Howbeit he attained not unto the first three. Let me see, there's another part I want to read. Verse 20 says, Benaiah, the son of I might be saying it wrong. Jehoiada, the son of a valiant man, of Kozil, who had done many acts. He slew 2 lion-like men of Moab. He went down also and slew a lion in the midst of a pit in the time of snow. And he slew an Egyptian, a goodly man. And the Egyptian had a spear in his hand, but he went down with him with a staff and plucked the spear out of the Egyptian's hand and slew him with his own spear. The thing is that Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and his son, and had the name among 3 mighty men. He was more honorable than the 30, but he attained not the first 3, and David set him over his guard. These the men that we descend from. That's where we come from. That's what Esau don't want us to know about. They want us to think we just thugs and gangsters and niggas and all these other little terms and whatever. They don't want us to know that we really come from a royal bloodline. They want to come from that line. What is it? They come from Abraham, Isaac, and Esau. They come from that. We come from Jacob. So I ain't gonna stretch this video on too much longer. Before we get restored, this place gotta go. That's just the bottom of it. And you see the events unfolding right now in these times. This ain't no next 50 years, no next 100-year event that's happening now. So I just want to bring this out. I don't want to write this out. It's edifying. So like it for, a little camera footage, but I ain't shooting no movies. I just bringing out a message. Shalom to the left.